Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Back to the Frame Rate, where we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms for your entertainment. I'm your host, Nathan Shore, and I'm here with Eli Escobar and Brianna Butterworth. Sam is not here for this episode, but he will be returning next week. But filling in for him is film critic, podcaster, and composer for Sonic Cinema, Brian Skutle. Welcome to our humble podcast, Brian.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I'm grateful that you send the invite for me.
I'm so happy that you're here because we've I think known each other for quite some time. It might be like 8-9 years where we connected. I think where you reviewed some of my films back in the day, and I really appreciate the I think positive reviews. I think you mostly gave my movie, so I think that's where we know each other from. But I really appreciate you coming on board.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
One of the things that you will find out about me, and one of the things that you will know if you read Sonic Cinema and if you listen to my podcast, Sonic Cinema Podcast, is that I love talking about movies, and especially I love talking about movies that I enjoy. And I mean, not that you can't have fun talking about bad movies, but certainly movies that you get a certain amount of pleasure out of, it just makes it that much easier. So,
Absolutely. So, we're going to get to our movie tonight, but I would just love to get a little bit more information about your history as a film critic and when you launched Sonic Cinema, and why did you launch it? How did you get into film criticism?
so I started writing little blurb reviews for the local paper's UB the Critic section in college, 1996, 1997, and that kind of got me interested in writing about film on a deeper level. And I started writing first for an email list I maintained just of like friends and family and stuff like that. But in around 2002, 2003, I decided I wanted to have my own website, not only to house my film reviews, but also fan commentaries that some friends of mine and I were starting to do, inspired by the idea by the late great Roger Ebert, as well as my original music. And as you mentioned in the introduction, Nathan, I've also done a lot of composing over the years, mostly electronic, classical, a lot of it just kind of standalone pieces. I did compose a film score last year, and so yeah, about 2003 is when we really had the first discussions about Sonic Cinema, and in 2004 went online with some reviews. 2005, my music and commentaries went on there, and it's basically just evolved from that. And about 9 years ago, I started a podcast as well, Sonic Cinema Podcast, and it's been a very free form podcast. Nathan, we had you on a few years ago, talked about your work, and yes, I think for the most part, I have been very positive with your work. Your work is something that really did resonate with me, and so I do filmmaker interviews, but also it's kind of it's not very specific in terms of structure, except we do tend to discuss film history and classic films, filmmakers, and it's been a pretty significant grab bag of topics, but it's one that I think has been very exciting to see evolve over the past few years.
Wow, that's really cool, Brian.
That's awesome.
What is the film that can you share the name of the film that you composed last year?
So it's from a filmmaker, another one like you, whose work I critiqued several years ago. Brian Ackley. He did a film called Player PhD, and it's kind of a romantic comedy. which with that type of tone is kind of out of the wheelhouse of what I typically compose for. It's more my compositions are more serious, so it was a really nice challenge. I've Brian's a filmmaker I've admired for a long time, and I was really excited when he gave me the opportunity to write music for his film. And I've also done some short films over the years. I tried my hand at filmmaking back in the day, but honestly, film criticism is kind of where I feel like I'm presenting my film knowledge on its strongest level.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
All right, very good. Brian, where is the best place for people to find your film criticism, your work as a composer? If anyone wants to hire you, just I will put this in the links, but mention it here if you don't mind.
So the main place is Sonic Cinema, www.sonic-cinema.com. My music, you can find it. Several of my albums are available at several streaming sites: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all sorts of places. But you can also purchase my music at Bandcamp. All of my albums and EPs are available there. And I actually just released one that's kind of a compilation of horror pieces inspired pieces that I've written over the years, called "The Cold Wind of Summer." And it's those are the main places. But the podcast, my music, is basically available wherever you listen to podcasts or music. So.
Great. Well, thank you, Brian. All right. Well, I think we can get to the what we're going to be watching tonight, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. And I have to admit, I did cheat, and I looked up I could see your review of this film. So I do know you have an opinion on this, and I think it was relatively positive. So I realized I was bringing in somebody that did have a positive.
Nathan, you're juking the stats.
I know. Well, I had to make sure that like somebody was coming on here that wasn't gonna be like, oh, I hate this damn movie. So, well, that had seen it. I had to make sure somebody, because I wasn't, anyway, whatever. Anyways, let's get. I'm gonna get to first a plot synopsis of the movie we're watching tonight, which is called The Night Before. Here we go. So, in December 2001, Ethan Miller loses his parents in a car accident. His best friends, Isaac Greenberg and Chris Roberts, resolve to spend every Christmas Eve with him so he will not be alone. The three learn about the exclusive Nutcracker Ball party, but they are unable to find it. They continue their collective holiday tradition for many years until 2015, when they finally decide to end the tradition. Chris, now a famous football player, and Isaac, married with a baby on the way, worry that Ethan, a struggling musician working dead-end jobs, is not ready for the tradition to end. At work, Ethan steals tickets to the Nutcracker Ball. Before embarking on their last Christmas Eve together, the friends meet at Isaac's house, where his pregnant wife, Betsy, gives him various illegal drugs, including...
A badass move.
including magic... You get them all on Craigslist, which is perfect. This is like 2015, right? So I love that. Including magic mushrooms and cocaine. The friends stop first at Rockefeller Center Christmas Tree, where Ethan reveals the tickets to the ball. In an attempt to impress his teammates, Chris purchases marijuana from their former high school dealer, Mr. Green. At a karaoke bar, the friends run into Diana, who recently broke up with Ethan due to his failure to commit, and her friend Sarah, both of whom are also attending the Nutcracker Ball. Isaac, affected by the drugs he took, records a video phone message confessing that he is terrified of having a child. Chris hooks up with a supposed fan who steals his marijuana. This is great. The friends contact Mr. Green again, who meets them at Chris's mother's, where they have dinner. She encourages Ethan to make up with Diana, and Isaac realizes he has accidentally switched phones with Sarah, and he begins to receive sex, I guess. While they search for Isaac's phone, the thief steals Chris's marijuana again. The friends split up, and Chris wants his marijuana back. Isaac wants his phone, and Ethan wants to go to the party. Chris fails to recover his marijuana, but through the thief learns the true value of his friends. Isaac, hallucinating from a mixture of drugs, meets his wife and her family and vomits during midnight mass. Ethan is beaten by two drunk pub crawling men dressed as Santa after defending the spirit of Christmas. Meeting back at a subway station, the tension between the friends explodes as Ethan reveals that he and Isaac know Chris's sudden success is due to steroids, and Chris reveals that he and Isaac think Ethan is lost. Despite the revelations, the friends go to the Nutcracker Ball. Chris learns that the teammates did not need the marijuana he struggled to obtain and mock him for a video shot earlier with his friends. Isaac retrieves his phone, learning Sarah never revealed his video message. Ethan finds Diana and spontaneously proposes to her in front of an entire party with Miley Cyrus. Well, this is
Not a badass move.
no. While she accepts publicly, she declines in private, saying that he only proposed out of fear of losing his friends. Ashamed, Ethan goes to the roof where he finds Mr. Green, who reveals that he is the creator and the host of the Nutcracker Ball. After experiencing a memory of his friends initiating their yearly ritual, Ethan rejoins Chris and Isaac, who have been thrown out after an altercation with Chris's teammates. As morning dawns, the friends reconcile just as Isaac receives a message that Betsy is in labor. Rushing to the hospital in Mr. Green's car, they discover it was a false alarm. Mr. Green is revealed to be an angel, helping the friends in order to earn his wings. Isaac shows his wife the video and admits she is also scared about raising their daughter. The trio spend Christmas Eve at Isaac's, after which Chris has dinner with his mother and admits to using steroids. Ethan goes to Diana's, where he apologizes for his behavior and not being ready to commit. Admitting that she has missed him, Diana accepts his request to finally meet her parents. 1 year later, the friends and their loved ones spend Christmas together. Isaac's baby cannot sleep, so the trio serenade her with Run DMC. Wow.
What a ride. What a ride that movie was.
So we have nothing left to talk about. No, I think we have a lot to talk
Check.
about. Yeah, that went on longer than I thought it would.
It was great. I felt like I was seeing it in my mind's eye.
So for people at home, you could just speed that up to like 2 or 3 times, and now you can slow it back down again. Yeah, so here we go. I'm just gonna play a quick trailer from the night before.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the borough the children were snuggled, their presents wrapped thorough. But this tale's not about presents, or Santa, or ponies. It's about 3 dudes, 3 bros, 3 ride-or-die homies.
Gentlemen, 14 years ago to this very night, I lost my parents. And you guys have been with me every single Christmas since then. You knew. But tonight, we have decided to end this tradition. Chris is just too famous to hang out with us anymore. And Isaac's about to have a baby.
You have been such a rock throughout this whole pregnancy. Tonight, just focus on yourself.
Whoa, shrooms? Is this cocaine? I haven't done cocaine for 11 years, I don't think.
Yeah, no one has, I don't think.
Holy.
I have a present for you. We're going to the best Christmas party in New York City. So that gives us several hours to hit as many traditions as possible. To the end of an era.
I think the cocaine and the mushrooms are reacting poorly.
You look insane. Only your right eye is working.
Do I look weird now?
Yes, you look weird. Still weird. Weirder.
All right, that was a clip from the trailer for the night before. Brian, I think we'll open with you. Could you please tell? First of all, I want to ask you. You obviously have seen this movie before. Is this the second time you've seen this? What is your relationship to this movie? I'd love for you to tell us first about this maybe a little bit what your relationship is with director Jonathan Levine. Have you a fan of his movies in general? Where do you stand with this?
So this is a film. I think I saw it a bit. I think I saw it actually shortly before it was getting ready to leave theaters. Unfortunately, because of the fact that in 2015 when this movie came out, I was actually getting ready to get married, and it's one of the things that I one of the reasons I was so interested about this movie, and one of the reasons it connected with me, was because of the fact that, I was thinking about it in perspective of how my own friends and I were starting to really transition into different type of lives, and how that was making it difficult for us to get together as much as we normally did. So that was something that was definitely on the brain when I saw the movie, and I really enjoyed it. It's ultimately a silly movie. It's a Seth Rogan, even Evan Goldberg production. I mean, this is some of the movies they talk about, they name check in the trailer is This Is the End, Super Bad, and then of course they had the interview, which didn't quite come out as they hoped for the year before. As far as Jonathan Levine, the three movies of his that I've seen, I am a big fan of. This obviously is one of them. His 2013 zombie movie, Warm Bodies, is really lovely, I think, actually.
It's pretty good. It's kind of, yeah. It's surprising.
It's a really surprising blend of genres. And then his 2011 film, which put him in collaboration with Rogan and Goldberg for the first time, was 50-50. And Jonathan,
I'm a big fan of that one. Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in that as well. And that one's just absolutely wonderful. So those three films in succession, I'm definitely a big fan of. But I mean, obviously, the cast was a big reason for me to be curious and seeing this, because of the fact that I'm a fan of all of the main actors, and this just
the cast is stacked.
It really is, and one of the it wasn't the second time I had seen it. I'd seen it a couple of times over the past few years. But one of those things, one of the things that I noticed this time around is you sort of notice it's one of those, if you have repeat viewings of movies, especially more than one, excuse me, you do have a tendency to notice things, and I think there are just little details along the way here that you really start to appreciate about a movie like this.
This seems like definitely a type of movie where it would benefit from multiple viewings, because there's so much going on in this, in so many character notes, that I actually am looking forward to seeing this again, maybe for next season.
I was thinking this is a new annual watch for me, I think.
Yeah. But continue, Brian.
No, so no, I mean it really starts with those main three: Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Seth Rogan, and Anthony Mackie. And I mean, the thing that's great about Anthony Mackie especially is that he's somebody who has really shown himself very adept at playing serious characters, comic book action, like in the Marvel movies, but then also can get really goofy, like in this, or even Michael Bay's Pain and Gain, which he was one of the main actors in. And the way that all three of these actors really bounce off one another, I think, is really important to them. The fact that they all, it's weird, it's surprising how believable especially Seth Rogen's character. Yeah, I think I think the cast is what really endears me to this movie as much as anything, and it's not as in addition to the main three and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, somebody who I've actually always enjoyed watching ever since Third Rock from the Sun back in the '90s. That really showed a lot of his versatility, especially comedically. He shows it again here. I think he's somebody who can be very serious, but he can also be very goofy as well, and I think this gives him a good chance for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right. Oh, so let me ask you, what would you give this for a star rating from 1 to 5?
1 to 5, I would probably say a 3. It's a solid. I would say it's a solid 3 stars for me. It's pretty entertaining. I mean, I don't think there's anything. I don't know that I would say there's anything overly remarkable about this movie. It's just a really enjoyable time.
Okay. Ellie, I want to hear your opinion on The Night Before.
So I love this movie. I've seen it. This is the second time I've seen this movie, and it never fails to make me laugh so hard. I love the relationship. The well play out relationship between Rogan, Mackie, and JGL. Um, JGL is my favorite. One of my favorite actors, by the way. I just love him. And since like 10 Things I Hate About You. But anyway, yeah, I every time it's like every Christmas there's like 4 movies I watch consistently.
This is
And
this is tradition for you. This one,
yeah, I watch this one
really?
as well as Home Alone, and the other two are a Christmas Story. Uh, so anyhow, I what can I say? It's one of those movies that if you're not, hey, don't miss out on this movie. Honestly, people, if you're listening and if you want to really laugh really hard for Christmas, and who doesn't need a laugh, right? Because the times we're living in right now requires a laugh. And I
Pretty
couldn't stop.
brutal.
I could not stop laughing like from beginning to end. And I love the little romantic scenes at the very end of the movie. It's one of those, it reminds me of one of those 1980s films, like 16 Candles, where the guy ends up getting the girl, or the girl ends up with the guy that she loves. And what
I
else?
gotta say though, I felt like the movie kind of overstayed its welcome a little bit at the end. I was
What does
watching
that
this.
mean, overstayed its welcome?
I'm watching. I thought the movie should have ended after the rooftop, where the three friends reconciled, and felt like that was where the heart of the movie was the three friends coming together and coming to an understanding. And I felt like I got my emotional
I think if you
moment
don't have
there.
if you don't have that last scene, I think Lizzie Kaplan's role is thankless.
Yeah, it
And
is
I
true.
love her.
It is true. But I felt like it was one of those situations where there was like multiple endings.
I can't
Okay.
get enough of
Me too.
JGL, so as much as I can watch him, I will watch. So, because I just love JGL, all right? I don't care about Rogan because he's kind of not very good looking, but um,
I love how
I'm
you
just being
based
honest.
There's
all
a
the
lid for
movie
every
from the-
pot.
But Mackie, come on, Mackie's hot, okay, too. So anyway, I Mackie's hot, somebody you'll have an affair with. JGL
Oh
is
my
someone
God.
that JGL is someone that you're actually married, and then Rogan is somebody that just chill with and hang out with to make you laugh. That's how I
Did you just
categorize
F, marry, kill the cast?
I think
what.
so. Think she
I'll tell
did.
you about this game after.
So I love the relationship between the three of them. It's like that those three friends that you go out with since like high school or elementary school, and you kind of go away and you come back and you pick up where you left off.
Yes,
I love
that's
it
a great way to describe
because
it.
it never changes. And you know what? You can argue your butt off about every single thing and not come to an agreement, but eventually you're still friends anyway. It doesn't matter because you know what? I hate you, but I love you anyway. That's how they play it off. And I love it um well, one of my favorite well, I love one of my favorite characters is Ileana Glazier.
Same.
I love she's badass, okay? She is
Mhm.
so badass. When she's in the toilet, just like poop, poop. You can go poop. I mean, this movie's got if you don't have a strong stomach about sexual situations and pictures,
Mhm.
certain penises pictures, then don't watch. If you're like a church goer and you're like into church and Jesus and God, then don't watch because it's gonna make you feel like you wanna turn it off. But if you don't care about those things, because it's just a movie and it's just to make you feel happy and laugh, then go for it. Watch it.
Mm.
The story is about the three friends. I think for me, it was about the three friends and how friendship can survive decades. You can go away, live your life, and still come back to that one place that you had a certain tradition with those three people. And in a way, it's really funny, but I think I told you, I felt like these three nerds were like the first nerds that, how when we first started our podcast, it was you, Nathan, me, and Sam. Well, I felt like that was the three of us. Like legit, I felt like it was like us at the beginning, like being so nerdy and like we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just gonna go with the flow and we're gonna love it. And
Yeah, yeah.
like we've become really good friends through this podcast. And I nowadays people are so fake. There there aren't strong relationships like that anymore. Like when I was a kid in the 80s or in the 90s, right? That doesn't, it's hard because people are not very real. They have filters now. You don't know who you're looking at anymore. But this movie, one of my favorites, is fun. You're gonna roll on on the rug. You're gonna roll over and roll over. And what you guys want to know what my favorite scene is?
Yeah.
Why
Yes,
too?
yes.
It's when Ileana falls to the trash barrel. She's on the rooftop
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she's like,
Oh,
and
the
she
Hans Gruber?
falls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
They're
oh,
playing Ode to Joy? Yeah.
she's so badass about that. And also when he's at the table with the family and he's getting all those penises pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. Every time I laugh and I laugh and I laugh and I can't stop laughing because it's the funniest thing.
What makes up
So
They
for me
play
is
it so well.
what Seth Rogen's internal monologue for that
Yes.
is just priceless. Yeah.
I mean, Rogan is king of comedy. I mean, I love Rogan.
So
He's
funny.
he's so funny. Just I could just look at him and laugh.
Yeah.
I really do. And the fact that he walks around in an ugly sweater with the star of Israel on it, it's like this is so funny. And the scenes where I'm Catholic, so I was brought up believing that Jesus was crucified you know
Mm.
by the Jews.
I have so much
And
to say about the scene in the church because I was raised Jewish,
yeah,
and my feelings about going into a church when I didn't have a lot of experience going into a church. I related 100% to Seth Rogen's character
dude,
going into
the
church.
fact that
I felt like all the eyes were on me, like they know I'm Jewish. They know I'm Jewish. They're looking at me, and when that baby looked at me, like I'm judged by babies constantly.
oh my god, that baby was funny. And then he gets up and he says, "I'm sorry, we did this to you. I'm sorry." He runs away. But the
Yeah.
funniest part is when he's at the party and the Messiah. It's
Oh,
like it gets like his hand gets stuck to the glass, and the guy
Yeah.
goes, "Crucify the Messiah." I'm just like, I can't even. I and then I really
I
love
thought that
all the
joke was a little
cameos.
lame. I thought that joke was a little lame. I don't know.
You gotta be Catholic to enjoy it though, because
I know I get the joke. I just thought it was a little lame. But
well, there's nothing about this movie that I don't enjoy.
yeah, yeah.
Everything about this movie I love, every single part of it. And I even love the cameos of all the different actors that come in.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Yeah.
were awesome. And like, oh, it's so and so. Oh, it's so and so. Yeah, I give it a 5 stars. So
Five
Nice.
stars.
yes, I did.
Highest of
Nice.
stars. All right. All right. So you and me, B. You want to go next? You want me to go next?
Sure. I'll go next.
You go next.
I also really enjoyed this movie, and Ellie was telling you earlier, I wouldn't have watched it if Ellie didn't recommend it. So I'm glad that you did. It was totally off my radar. I don't think I had registered it when it came out, but I like Point Grey Productions, the Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogan Productions. I like their movies. I thought it was really well paced, really well cast. I just think it executed everything really well. So I was pretty on board with it. I thought they did a great job. So the movie starts with them sort of grappling with how they're going to deal with this being their last holiday together. And I think it spends the right amount of time with that. Because I was bought in by the time JGL steals those tickets. I'm like, it's about to go down. It's about to get crazy in here. And I just thought the things that got crazy, it was also the right level of crazy. I feel like some movies don't go crazy enough or take it. I just thought it was the right level of crazy. But still, even though there are killer star performances, I thought what really sold this movie was the supporting cast. I loved Alana Glazer. I love Lizzie Kaplan and Mr. Green. Like, for me, he was the best character. Michael Shannon, thank you. I kept on saying Shannon. Michael Shannon was, for me, the best part of this movie. I thought it was great to have this like pseudo Christmas Carol dogma thing of like Ghost of Christmas Past, present, future.
He's doing so many things. He's like an amalgamation of like all these ghosts, but he's also like their
Yes.
guardian angel. It's like It's a Wonderful Life. He's like,
that's where like the
so
dogma
many-
thing comes in for me. Like it was so well done, and it really it was a really useful plot device to like bring us back to the point of the movie and bring them back to their sort of central moral compass. I thought that was a great job. And then whenever there was, a plot device that got them out of something, like him leaving his car there so they could go to the delivery room, it was just fun. It was just in the spirit of the movie, and it didn't feel like it was an excuse for anything. So I thought it was great. I had a really good time with it. Though there were a couple things that took me out of it. Some of the camera work, especially earlier on, I just thought got a little loopy, and I wasn't totally on board for all the cinematography. But I know that's another one of Seth Rogen's guys. And I also was kind of shocked this movie was made in 2015, because this feels like a 2008, 2009 movie in its heart.
I say the same thing. It feels like that. Yeah.
It feels like that. But it doesn't feel dated. Like, it doesn't feel stale, I guess. It just does feel like a different era of comedy. So I'm wondering if maybe that's why it didn't sort of live on in the cultural zeitgeist. If this movie had come out like maybe 6 years earlier, would it be a different conversation? Would everybody know this movie? It just felt like we were at a different place in comedy
At this
in 2015.
R-rated adult comedies were not doing well. Also, like this feels like the
Yeah.
era of like Knocked Up and The
Right.
Hangover. Like maybe in that era, this movie would have like really done more. I don't think this movie did big business at all.
No.
Like you, I had never heard of this movie, and I'm really surprised because this was off my radar completely until Ellie mentioned it. I don't know how that's possible.
See, now it's not, because I told you to watch it.
I know.
Yes. And
you guys put me through November.
This was good payback though. But I was like thinking, I'm like, why isn't Anthony Mackie in more Seth Rogen movies? Like, he talked about how much he loved working with him and the director, and I was like, oh, because 2015, like Marvel's coming up. Like, Anthony Mackie very quickly moved on. So it was just interesting, because I wouldn't have pegged this for it coming out when it came out, but that didn't really affect my enjoyment of the film. I thought it was really fun. I thought the supporting cast did a great job at making it feel like making it feel grounded where it needed to feel grounded, making it feel crazy where it needed to feel crazy. I'm not articulating this very well, but I thought it was great. I give it a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
I think as far as it's crazy when it's supposed to be crazy, grounded when it's supposed to be grounded. That's Levine as well as a filmmaker. I mean, you think about
Mhm.
50-50, and there's some moments there that are just really silly, like
Mm.
when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is leaving the chemotherapy session, and he's taken the pop brownies, and he's having those moments of just feeling the highs starting to kick in, and he's got those moments that are just crazy when they're shaving his head is really funny.
Yep.
But then obviously all of the stuff, all of the things in that movie that's grounding. And but yeah, I mean, as far as why this
Makes the payoff work.
yeah. But yeah, as far as why this didn't do as well, I mean, yeah, I think it is. If they'd come out around the time of those other really successful Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg,
Yeah.
Goldberg movies, yeah, it would have been more successful, I think. But yeah, to your point, I mean, the time had kind of come and gone, but I'm glad that I'm glad that it ended up coming out at all. Just because, I mean, like, if this had come out in like 2019, 2020, it would have been for probably Netflix, and
Right.
Yep.
it would have been lost in the algorithm. So
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, I think everything that's been said, I'm just going to echo. So I'm not going to really say much because I agree with almost all the love that's already been said for this film. I really do. I really did like this movie a lot. And as I said, I'd never seen this before, hadn't even heard of it. I thought I knew about every single Seth Rogen movie that and Goldberg movie that has been made. And this was just a delight because I knew nothing about this, and I just loved because I had no idea where this was going as I'm watching this, and so many great set pieces in this, great scenes. The highlights, of course, were Seth Rogen going to church, and like I said before, I've been in that place before. But what I will say, there's a couple things I want to mention, a couple nitpicks as well. I will say, I thought the three leads just had amazing chemistry.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Rogan, JGL, going back to, I love the film 50-50. My main takeaway though, I think this is, just at its core, a very heartwarming and relatable story about, male insecurities as we face aging and growing responsibilities, pressures of what society puts on us, on men. And I think the three leads, they're very different characters, but I could identify with each of them. Ethan's, he's played by Joe Levitt. He's a 33-year-old failed musician who's either probably not as good as he thinks he is, or too stubborn to change his ways to better a situation. He's a poster child of someone who's just stuck in place and can't get out of his own way. I've been there. Isaac, Seth Rogen, he's becoming a first-time father, and he's unsure if he is dad material. He's scared to death about the next chapter in his life, and I love his drug-fueled rant that he does on his phone. And I've had that moment. My wife's never going to listen to this podcast. I've had that moment crying in my shower leading up
Put
to
that
my
baby
first
in a
child.
bag.
I've been there. And Anthony Mackie, he's this 34-year-old athlete who's found this recent fame in his mid-30s as an NFL wide receiver, but it's just a facade, as we later find out. And he's so desperate for success that he took shortcuts to get there. And I felt like, I've been there too.
I love that Anthony Mackie was a tryhard.
I pretended to be somebody I'm not all the time. So like, oh my God, I am all these people. And again, I'm much older than these characters are in this movie, but that was me in my mid-30s. Absolutely. All of these people. So like, this struck a chord. Each one of them, I was these people, all of them.
Mm.
Also, this tugged on a couple heartstrings because I feel like I used to have friendships like this that, that ultimately, they fizzle out and they do change when we get older with marriages and kids and life. And, I was the one who was just so desperately trying to keep the magic going, keep the gang together. So like this, just like, oh my God, I've been there, and I tried to, uh, keep these friendships going. And you know what? As I got older, I realized, life goes on. You make new friends. I made friends on the podcast. I made friends in other industries and stuff. That's just life. But this is just such a relatable story that, that it just really resonated with me. It made me feel so many things, but it also was so just damn funny. I laughed my butt off throughout this whole thing. So many surprises, that I just stumbled across in this. Just considering a few weeks ago, I knew nothing about this film. So those basically I want to say I'm giving this 4.5 stars. I had a blast with this. Couple quick things I just want to nitpick. I love the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character, but the one thing I do wish is that I wish they fleshed out his character a little bit more. He is. I know this is 3 co-leads, but I feel like in some ways he is supposed to be kind of like the heart of this movie. And we know that he's a failed musician. We know he has an ex-girlfriend. We know he lost his parents. But I don't feel like much is really explored. And I would love that there's a little bit more backstory. And I know it's not consequential to the movie, but I feel like there's just so much about his character we know nothing about. And I would have loved to have gotten a little bit more out of that. And as we said before, Michael Shannon, absolutely the MVP of this movie. I don't have to mention anything more about that.
Oh, so good.
I love Michael Shannon and everything he does. Every time he's in a movie,
it's going to be a good movie.
It's going to be great in every scene he's in. He's
the half-star bump.
He's one of those actors where I love comedies also where when you cast somebody like him, because he plays it straight and serious. And I love anytime you take somebody like Michael Shannon, who is already kind of like a creepy looking guy, and you put him in this. It's gonna be just it's gonna be great casting. So this just I had such a good time with this. And Mr. Green has some wonderful one-liners. I just love the moment where he's first sitting with Anthony Mackie in the car, and he says something like, "It's good to see you kids hanging out and smoking up. Makes me proud." Which is like, just love it. So yeah, love it. Thank you, Ellie, again for recommending this to watch.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Going off of what you were saying about Ethan's arc, I mean, I do agree with you to a certain extent that it would have been nice if it had been fleshed out a little bit more, or if there had been a bit more introspection on his part in some of these different interactions he has away from the gang, away from the trio. Because, I mean, basically what we kind of get the very simple interpretation of why he's not really able to move on as, oh, well, he's using he's very codependent on Isaac and Chris to hold on to those memories of his. And one of the things I do like about that, and why I think the ending works so beautifully, is that they ultimately figure out by the end how that just because this tradition is done doesn't mean that them spending time together around the holidays has to end. It just has to kind of adapt into something more congruent with what everybody's life is at. And I do love that. Elena Glazer, she cracks me up every time I see this movie, and I completely forget how absolutely wonderful and chaotic she is in this. She has such an energy to this that works so well.
When she
Um,
throws the Legos to make him fall down, just like pocket Legos or pocket
Micro
miniatures,
machines.
whatever.
and Chris is like, she home alone me.
Yeah.
It's like, but you know, and one of the things I do really like about this film is that the concept of it being I feel like there's a genuine affection for Christmas movies in this movie.
Yes.
You know, it's not just a setting for this movie. I feel like there's a genuine affection for comedies set at Christmas or what the holidays represent. I mean, you kind of see that in Ethan's run-in with the drunk Santas. But I mean, I do think that's one of the reasons that this movie is as successful as it is, because of the fact that it plays genuine with the idea of what the holidays can possibly mean.
Brian, it's interesting you say that. On an interview with the Today Show, Seth Rogan and JGL were on, and they talked about that exact thing. And they were saying, like, this is bred out of, we just love Christmas movies and we think they're great, and we wanted to make that in our own way. And it feels sentimental, even though it's absurd and it's a little subversive.
Yeah.
It definitely feels schmaltzy at the same time, and you kind of love it.
Yeah. It is, one other side note, I was thinking just now, it is rather unfortunate that on the phone text that James ends up being James Franco.
Yeah.
And, knowing about his accusations, it's reasonable to think that the pictures that was being sent probably really was him.
Very funny scene though, because of the fact that, I mean, and yes, yeah, I agree with you. It is unfortunate now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of
2015
at the moment,
it was
but
a
at the same
good
time,
cameo.
But and I mean, he was in with Rogan and Goldberg
Oh, yeah.
for years.
Pineapple
So
Express.
it makes
He was in
sense
the
that he
club
was in
and
it.
Into the World.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's still a hilarious scene. And I mean, Rogan,
Yeah.
that's probably some of Rogan's funniest work on cameras. That is the reactions that we get from him as each text is coming in, and to Ellie's point, the internal monologue as those texts are coming in, it's hilarious.
It is. He just resigns to the fact of what he has to do. There's just,
that was so
it's
well
great.
done.
Yeah. Yep.
It's great.
No, his fate is sealed. He knows it.
We talk
Anyway.
about how wild the Nutcracker Ball actually was for a second.
It was, you know what? I was a little disappointed. It was
It was an
off the hook party, but it was not like as insane as it could have been.
There was a train.
They
really wonking you.
Yeah, it was a cool entrance, and in 2015, Miley Cyrus at a party was pretty awesome, but it was, I feel like I've been to like a party like that back in late 90s that rivaled
Okay.
that. Maybe I wasn't that cool. I lived in LA, so I know, but
I thought it seemed cool. I would have been happy to be there.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, how long was this night? I mean, like, did this party start at like 4 a.m? Probably.
Oh, Mindy Kaling. We didn't talk about Mindy Kaling. She was there too.
She was great.
She did a great job. She didn't have a lot to do, but she did a good job with what they gave her.
I liked her, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fact that she basically becomes the third wheel between Rogan and Franco, and
oh my god,
and that is absolute. And you see her trying to make her way.
She does that so well.
It's hilarious.
All right. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts on this film before we move on?
No. That's
all right.
it.
All right. So, thank you everyone for the discussion on the night before. And let's move on to our next segment of our show, our recommendation shelf.
Hello, welcome to Masterpiece Video. How may I help you this afternoon, sir?
I'm looking for a copy of 8½.
Is that a new release, sir?
No, it's the classic Italian film.
Sir. Just check that on the computer for you, sir.
Hello, how are you young ladies this afternoon? May I help you find a particular masterpiece movie?
No.
Yes, here it is. 9.5 Weeks with Mickey Rourke. That would be in the erotic drama section.
No, not 9½, 8½. The Fellini film.
How about this one? Get it? I'm sure it sucks. All these movies suck.
All right, it is time for a recommendation shelf where we each will recommend a movie that is a tie-in to our discussion this week of The Night Before. And our theme this week is Nights of Debauchery. So I can't wait to hear what everyone has in store for us. Who would like to begin? Brian, you got something queued up for us, or?
Let's see. It kind of feels like there's a few different ways to go here. Keeping with the Christmas theme, I would like to go ahead and put out Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, which is a very unconventional Christmas movie in and of itself. And I think with Bill Hartford's journey through the night, you definitely get the debaucherous
absolutely
aspect of it as well.
I do love that film.
It's a good choice.
I haven't seen it in about 15 years, so I thought about that film, but I haven't seen it in a while, and I'm trying to remember it beyond the big famous party scene.
Is that the one with Tom Cruise?
Yes, and Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Oh no,
no.
I don't think this is a big Kubrick crowd in our podcast. I heard you're
I'll
not
like Kubrick when he comes back from the dead and likes women.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
It's just I don't know. I don't think I understood it. I don't know if it's just the way the camera moved around, just kind of made me dizzy. And
it's okay if it's not your movie.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Completely understand.
Yep. Well, Eyes Wide Shut is I think streaming on Paramount Plus right now. And it's also you can get it on VOD. Ellie, what do you want to recommend?
Well, first of all, I didn't even know what debauchery meant. So I just learned what debauchery means. And so there's so many movies in this genre. So many movies. But I went with the Risky Business one because it's, one, it's the 80s. Can't go wrong with 80s movies in my book, obviously. It's Tom Cruise and his underwear dancing. I've actually have recreated that scene, obviously with shorts on, not underwear. But it's so fun, and the movies basically of the times in the 80s when you had all those teenage movies. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, I freaking loved it. I love Tom Cruise. I still love Tom Cruise. A lot of people don't like Tom, but whatever. He's got his own thing going, and I don't really care. I think he's a great actor, and I love that he does his own stunts, and that in my book makes him a really great actor. Let me see. What is there? Oh, there. I almost think of Risky Business as that. Obviously, it's not as good as The Graduate, but because there's that relationship between the older woman and the younger man. The music's great. And who hasn't thrown a party when their parents gone out away for vacation? I know I have. And they broke everything. They even killed the fish in my living room. They put beer. Yeah, I hope my parents don't listen to this podcast. Probably not. But
you're on the naughty list, Ellie.
They did. They put beer in my fish tank. It wasn't my fish tank. It was my dad's. And the first thing he said is like, make sure you feed the fish at this time and at this time. And next thing I know, after the party, the next morning, I've seen the fish dead. So we went to buy new fish. We did. We went to go buy new fish for my cousin, and we replaced them. But my dad somehow always knew. That is not the same fish. We're like, it
Yeah.
is. It just changed colors. Anyhow,
One of those
I
magical fish that changes colors.
yeah. So I really love Risky Business. If you want looking for a fun movie to watch and to reminisce, if you grew up in the 80s, go back and watch Tom Cruise, Risky Business.
Yeah. And I think that's available on VOD right now.
Yes.
So yeah. All right. B.
Sure. I went with Gaspar Noé's 2018 Climax, which for our listeners who might not have seen it is insane. I think he decided to film it in like 2 weeks or something crazy, and it has a ton of long shots, which I really love. So the movie is they say it's very loosely based on a true story. I don't think you should take anything Noé does as true or gospel, but just interesting and chaotic. Of a dance troupe who on their last night of rehearsals decides to celebrate in some sort of looks like an abandoned warehousey kind of space, and one of the dancers spikes the sangria with LSD unbeknownst to anybody else, and so the evening devolves into a night of terror and fright and paranoia, and it gets really crazy really fast and really scary as people try to figure out what is happening. It does end with some tragedy, but it's really interesting to watch it all happen. It opens on a 10-minute one shot, and it's just crazy watching them all dance and the way the camera moves, and it's super interesting. I think it's just really interesting to watch, and it's gripping. It'll have you focus the whole time.
All right, excellent. I have seen a lot of Noé's movies, but I haven't seen this one. So
I take this over Enter the Void. I feel like Enter the Void is his most famous, but I take Climax.
Okay. All right. Where do you know where this is available to see?
Yeah, for sure. So this you can rent on Prime, or you can see it on Apple or Paramount Plus.
Okay.
My
pick is the 2022 film from Damien Chazelle, Babylon.
So good.
The entire film is about indulgence and debauchery, I think. But specifically, I'm going to target the beginning of the film, which is this party scene at a mansion with
Another long take.
Hollywood elite, socialites, all of high society, fighting, drinking, fornication, mounds of cocaine. Every hedonistic act is on full display, and the band plays on during this. What I love about this scene is that it takes its time to step away also from the party, and we get to know the important characters. Nellie Leroy, played by Margot Robbie, Manny Torres, played by Diego Calva, and Jack Conrad is Brad Pitt. And the three leads, I personally felt were really good in this. I know I'm in the minority to a degree with this.
I loved it.
There's a lot of people that hate this movie or are really just kind of lukewarm on this. But I was just captivated by this film. Number one, I love movies about movies, and even though the story is exaggerated and is, it's a heightened reality, but I just love the inside baseball aspect of this. Number two, I totally get why some audiences just don't connect with this, but for me, this is just a 3-hour fever dream that I just never wanted to end. So I was just completely in the bag for this. And I will defend this movie, even though there are people that I totally understand will not connect with this. But if you just want to watch the first 28 minutes of this movie just for that party scene, it is worth it just to see that. So I recommend the first 28 minutes of Babylon. And if you're not connected with the story, turn it off. I will not be offended. So that's it. So
Nathan, to back you up a little bit on this, that song that is in that party that you're talking about ended up on my Spotify Wrapped. That's how much I listened to it. Okay.
So that's it's streaming on Prime Video right now and Paramount Plus, and you can rent it on VOD. So there you have it. Those are our recommendations for Nights of Debauchery. So that is where we are going to end it this week. Let me just do a little bit of housekeeping before we end it here. Let me get my stuff together here. So If you agree or disagree with our opinions on Night Before, we'd love to know because we would love to get your feedback. You can contact us at backtotoframerate@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and that is at Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is greatly appreciated, so please take a moment and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast app. And we highly recommend you subscribe to our newsletter, Frame Rate Monthly. This newsletter is packed with details about our podcast, including what we're currently watching, upcoming discussion topics, and other engaging content. And to subscribe to our newsletter, simply send an email to us at backtotoframerate@gmail.com and include newsletter in the subject line. Brian, before we go, and could anything else you want to plug? Drop any links or socials that you want to mention before we head out?
Certainly. Once again, the website is www.sonic-cinema.com. You can basically follow my music and podcasts out from there. The podcast is on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, Good Pods, basically wherever you listen to podcasts. My music is available on several of the streaming sites, but most especially you can purchase it through Bandcamp. And basically my reviews are www.sonic-cinema.com. As far as socials, I am at BMSKUTLE on Instagram and Threads. I am still on Twitter at this point, but sometimes I engage on there more than others. I am at SKUTLELEMUR, Skutle Lemur there. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm also on Blue Sky. You can just look up my name, Brian Skutle, anywhere you listen, anywhere you are on socials.
Great. Thank you. And we'll put all of these links in our show notes. So, all right. So thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's show. So there you have it. That's it. The show is over. Goodbye.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.